Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Freelance Friday podcast, Cozy Edition, version 2. If you're listening, I'm on the floor of my living room wearing my favorite cozy Save the Lobo Wolves sweatshirt. And we're going to answer some questions. Most of these came in from YouTube, but some of them came in from Instagram as well. You can follow me at the Latasha James over there. I post calls for questions every, quarter or so, and we've got a lot. So I divided these between content creation questions, social media management, and just kind of miscellaneous freelance. So be sure to check the timestamps if there's one of those categories you're more interested in. We're going to start with content creation. Hi, Latasha. I've been watching your videos for a while and want to start making my own content too. I'm just a bit concerned with my privacy. How do you ensure that you have a digital presence without people getting too close into your personal life? With AI evolving rapidly, I fear that my likeness could be exploited in some way if I put myself out there too. This is such a good question, and I'm so sorry that we have to talk about it. But yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, actually. So there are a lot of things that I do to keep myself safe. Like the AI thing, honestly, as a content creator, I just have kind of like my likeness is out there. I mean, what am I really going to do at this point? There's not a whole lot of privacy I can have in regards to that, as unfortunate as that is. But I've always been more concerned about like people, humans, and I have had a couple of really scary incidences. Luckily, no more than a couple. It's like a long story. I think I talked about it, but I actually had to have like the FBI at my house. It was a whole ordeal, and they really they made me feel better because they told me what I was doing was right. I never show you like where I live. I don't even talk about the town that I live in. I say I live in Michigan. I never shoot like outside of my window. So I actually got shears to cover my windows now so that when I'm vlogging, it's really hard to like see the background. I don't do house tours, yeah, of course, you guys probably have a general idea of the layout of my house if you watch my vlogs regularly, but you don't know all the entries and exits and where I have cameras and where I don't. I wish I would have been a little bit more private about just my full name and personal details. I've been on YouTube for so long that I just didn't even think I would ever have any, amount of following. So I never really thought too much about that. But yeah, you just have to be safe and be aware of your surroundings just in general life. I have security and cameras and all that stuff. At a certain point, though, I think it's like I always think of it like when I was a little kid, I thought the news anchors were famous. I remember one time I saw our local news guy at McDonald's and I was like, oh my gosh, like I thought he was like Oprah. And I'm not even as famous as my local news anchor. So I try to think of it like that. Like every job, every career comes with some degree of risks, and I think there are lots of more public facing careers, so you just have to be smart if you're in one of them. Is YouTube the best cost effective slash easiest way to get your video content out there? I think yes. I mean, I guess I don't know what we're comparing it to. I guess if we're talking long form video content, yeah, I mean, I think YouTube is where it's at. If we're talking short form, yeah, I mean, I think there are other options out there like TikTok, like Instagram, and just like try them all out, see which ones resonate for you and your audience. But yeah, if we're talking long form YouTube, you can use like Vimeo or something if you want to just post a film or post a project. But one, you have to pay for certain amounts of storage, and two, they don't have the discoverability that YouTube has. There's very few other video platforms like this. There are other ones, I think, but none of them are as big. How often and what quantity should we post if we start from the beginning these days, and what types of posts for TikTok and Instagram? This is a loaded question, and I wish there were a universal answer. I wish I could say you post 5 times a week and you do reels and that's it, but that's not how it works. Every industry, every person, everything is going to be a little bit different. I think with any of these social platforms, whatever's new, like that's always a good idea to at least test those formats because there's a reason, they tend to push the newer stuff, right? So yeah, like video content is big on Instagram, but I personally for my own Instagram account, I'm seeing that images are doing better, like specifically carousels and specifically more personal images than anything. My reels have been tanking lately. So It really does depend a little bit account to account. As far as quantity, I would say that you want to be consistent, and that's what Instagram, when I've had a call, with them before, that's what they told me is basically it should be like YouTube. How you guys know I upload every Friday. It's supposed to be Tuesday and Friday, but lately it's been Friday. Life's been busy. But like, you come back on Friday, you look forward to my content on Friday. They say it's supposed to be the same on Instagram as well. So ideally, you would be posting maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, or some kind of consistent schedule. But as far as format, yeah, there are trends. There are things that we're seeing are doing a little bit better than others. But overall, you really have to test things for yourself. How to organize on site content shoot days. I love this question. Again, it does depend on what exactly the project is, but I can just I'll walk you through a course that I recently shot. So, in my company, James and Park, we shoot like long form content for clients in particular. We do other kinds too, but mostly long form video content. So, I got there with a small team to help me about an hour and a half to 2 hours before the client got there. And we set up, we did testing. I sat in as the client, did like mic testing, camera testing, so that when she got there, we really just need to do one little quick mini test. We didn't have to waste too much of her time. And I loaded up the teleprompter, just got everything ready. I also made sure to like make lunch plans and get the bathroom stocked with, just like beauty touch up items and stuff like that for the client. Had water, all that kind of stuff, like the hospitality type, make them feel comfortable type things. Then the talent got there. I always print out a shot list beforehand as well that everybody who is in the room can have access to. That shot list has a detailed breakdown of what we're shooting and when, how much time we're allotting for each, in this case it was module, lesson, etc. And then it also had like contact information of me and the rest of the team. So if somebody was going to leave, they had our cell phone numbers if they got lost or something like that. I also had lunch information on there. Hey, review the menu ahead of time so that you can let us know what you want us to order for you. Just as organized as possible. So yeah, and then we just shot content. I always like to leave plenty of room for breaks. You gotta just kind of read your client too. If they're getting really exhausted, you don't want them to feel like this is torture for them. So give more breaks if needed. And I mean, that's pretty much it. And then me and the team stayed to break down and we went home. When you're creating self content for a brand or your personal brand, where does the inspiration come from? And how do you create inspiration for content creation? My brain and my experiences, I guess. It depends on what you're creating content about, I suppose, but I would say if you're looking to become a content creator, like make that your job, create content about something that naturally integrates with your life, that you already talk about a lot, that you already do a lot, that you already are passionate about. Because for me, like I'm creating business and entrepreneurship content and I have a business and I'm an entrepreneur. So whenever I'm in doubt, I'm just like, oh, what am I going through in my business right now? What have I heard from my peers? What have my clients been going through? And I just am able to like source topics that way. I don't really use like Chat GPT or even Answer the Public. I recommend that one a lot to people, but I really don't use it very often. I mean, I think we all go in ruts. Every once in a while, I'll be like, what the heck do I post? But usually my problem is I have too many ideas. If I just sit and think, what am I going through right now? Also, one website that's been really helpful for me lately is Threads. Just like scrolling the different entrepreneurship freelance topics on there and seeing what people are talking about, that usually is an indicator to me that it's kind of a hot topic. So I might give my take on a Threads post. Books are another good area. If I am in a rut, I got so many business books, you guys. And so I don't even read the whole things half the time. I just like open to a random page or scan through the table of contents. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's a topic I can talk about. So many different opportunities to get ideas. Okay. Onto the social media management specific questions. This is a very, very hot topic. Oh my gosh. Do you think scheduling content within the social platform itself damages engagement and reach? I think they mean like a social media scheduler. Okay. I have gotten this question so many times. I got it when I was speaking at Social Media Marketing World and I answered it on stage. I wonder if I have that clip. Every piece of research that I have seen has indicated that using a scheduling tool does not hurt your reach. However, I have a theory, and I don't know this for sure. And I would say at the end of the day, test it for yourself. And if you are consistently seeing that your reach is lower when you schedule, then don't schedule. Like you have to obviously use your own data and use real data, right? Don't just guesstimate, like write down the numbers, all of that. My theory, though, because I have not seen that, my theory is that what happens is when a lot of people schedule content, they skip that engagement piece. So they never go back and read through the comments and respond to them immediately, check their messages, do outbound engagement. And so I think that hurts reach. That is my theory. I think we do less engagement sometimes when we just set it and forget it. And so the lesson there is not to just set it and forget it, right? The lesson is to schedule your content and still make time. It might not be exactly when it goes out necessarily, but put it on your calendar to check in to all those things that I just mentioned. That's my theory, but again, test it for yourself. And even if you decide not to schedule through the platform, like using a tool like Metricool, for example, sponsor of the podcast, they have so many other benefits to using that tool. For me, the biggest benefit is analytics, being able to have everything in one place and look at these really beautifully curated reports, send them to my clients automatically. That is very helpful on its own. So even if you don't schedule through the platform, you can still use the platform for things like analytics, running ads, things like that. Niching down as a social media manager, types of business verticals that you can sell your services to, industries regularly requiring it. Please, I'm struggling with this one. Okay, so niching, maybe we'll do a whole video on this one as well. But my short answer is niching is really the intersection of what you like to do and what you have experience in and what's in demand, what actually is wanting you essentially. And so start by listing out all of the things that you like, all of the industries that you could see yourself working in, all of the industries that you have worked in the past, or that you could easily get experience in right now. So like for me, I worked retail in college, so maybe I could work with boutiques or stores or fashion companies. Those are all things that I'm like at least tangentially familiar with, right? I really like and have like personal passion and knowledge about art and music and things like that, right? So I'm going to write all those different things down. My corporate experience, I worked in the auto industry, I worked in the corporate staffing industry. So these are all at least starting points. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to do a little bit of market research. And what that means is for me, it's Googling, like starting just by Googling these companies, seeing if I can get a good answer on, what some of the top companies in those industries are, what their revenues tend to be, because that's going to be an indicator, if my niche is local pizza restaurants versus healthcare suppliers, right? Those revenues are going to be very different. And therefore those budgets for a social media manager are going to be extremely different as well. And if I'm debating between the two, I'm going to probably have a pretty clear answer just by thinking about the money, the dollars and cents of it all, right? But you also want to look at like to this person's point, like, do they need a social media manager? So try to get some context on what their marketing departments tend to look like. I like to look at LinkedIn, and let's say you've got healthcare company, pizza company, fashion company, look them up on LinkedIn, go to their company page, go to their people tab, and try to get an understanding of, okay, does it look like they have a big in-house marketing team? Does it look like they have freelancers that they work with? You can look at their jobs posted. How many jobs do they have open? Do they tend to hire often? And those can be indicators. Another thing that you can do is just word of mouth, right? If you have just one connection who works in the industry that you want to, for example, I know a couple of people in the wedding industry, they work with wedding suppliers. I might reach out to my wedding planner friend and say, hey, can I buy you a coffee? And can I just like ask you a little bit about the industry? Obviously, there's a whole thing with buying people coffee, right? You don't want to take advantage of people's time. Or I might say, could I pay you for a consulting call? But that can be a good way to explore niches. So those are just some ways. Obviously, there's financial data you can look at and just like Career Outlook, looking at sites like Glassdoor, and there's some others out there that will just give you overall, the career trajectory, or this industry is expected to grow in this percent and things like that. So that's where I would start at least. I hope that's semi-helpful. What's better for lead generation for a beginner social media manager to get the first few clients? Upwork or cold emails or social media platforms like LinkedIn? Thank you. Um, all. Literally all. Okay, I'll tell you, I had the best experience getting my first client through Upwork. Upwork via LinkedIn, actually. It was a job posted on LinkedIn, but I actually applied to it through Upwork. Like it was a job listed on Upwork. That's where I got most of my early experience. However, I was also on LinkedIn and I was also sending cold emails. I was doing all of those things until the point of seeing a clear winner. After a certain point, I realized cold emails aren't really doing it for me. Like, this is not really great use of my time. Instead, if I wanted to make a cold introduction, I would do that on LinkedIn. So I would say that is a little bit more valuable. My success rate has been higher connecting on LinkedIn versus cold emails, but you better believe I still sent those cold emails. And I think, yeah, for your first few, you've got to try every different method, truly. And try them enough times. Again, get enough data, write them down into a spreadsheet, how many emails you're sending, how many gigs you're applying to, how many cold intros you're making on LinkedIn, so you can get clear data to see, all right, this one is not working at all, this one is having a little bit of hope, and this one is crushing it. And you should be able to see a clear winner, hopefully. Creating an offer as a social media manager, what's the difference between deliverables, benefits, and actual offers to turn your prospect's head around? So the difference between deliverables, benefits, and offers. A deliverable is like something that you hand in. Like, I think back to school, right? We've got our book report that's due, kind of like homework. So an example of a deliverable would be 10 reels created for you, for your client, or a social media report that you're sending in every month, or a client meeting. Those are deliverables. Those are things that you can check off a list and like they can physically verify that they were completed. What's the other question? A benefit would be, that's just like why you hire you, right? So a benefit of hiring a social media manager, most importantly, I think for a lot of people, it's time. I think it's also expertise, having somebody who really knows the industry, who that is their job to study the industry, stay abreast of new trends and things like that, so they don't have to do it. So that's an example of a benefit. And then what was the other one? An actual offer. So then the actual offer is like the package that you put together. So maybe I offer a full service social media management package that includes monthly consulting, 10 Instagram posts per month, a report every month, and daily Instagram engagement. That would be an example of the offer. And typically, I recommend people come up with like 3 different core packages that they can offer to their clients. Typically, people go for the middle one when given 3 options. But yeah, that's like the short version. Maybe we can do a full video on social media offers. Let me know if you'd be interested in that down in the comments if you're on YouTube. If you don't mind, that'd be really helpful. All right, let's go into the miscellaneous, the more just general freelancing questions. Which are your favorite and least favorite social media apps at the moment? I think they mean like platforms. I apologize if that's not what you mean. Lately, I've been spending the most time on, my answer is always Reddit. That is where you can find me, except you can't find me because I don't have a public Reddit. I keep wondering, should I make a public Reddit? Because mine is like, it's like Anna125. Like, it's a completely anonymous screen name. I wonder if I should make a the Latasha James on Reddit so that I can actually talk about freelancing stuff. I don't know. Do any of you guys have a public Reddit? Is that a thing people do? I have no idea. But my answer is always Reddit. Secondary, I would say, well, YouTube. Some people don't really consider YouTube social media, so I'll exclude that. Instagram is okay. I use stories every day usually, but I don't like posting on the feed anymore. Even stories sometimes I'm like, why did this story get like 5,000 views and this one get like 100? Like, it's just a little inconsistent for me. So really, I'm just using it to connect with people as a normal human being, a concept. Threads I'm really liking, which again, I'm not really using for business, but I think in turn it's having a strange business effect by like, it's not the goal. And I'm seeing this for a lot of people. I've talked to a lot of my clients and friends and peers in the industry who are like, yeah, I keep getting clients from Threads, but I'm just like talking random mess about, the random topic of the day. And then they go back to my website and they're like, oh, I like this person. She's spicy. She's fun, she's interesting. We share the same values. And then they go back to their website and book them. So I would say Threads is winning for me of like the main social platforms, I guess, that I actually have a public account on. Okay, this is a great question. I want to get started, but I feel like I need a personal approach like a mentor. I have the ideas, but the technical part seems overwhelming. Any advice on how to find a mentor slash social media manager? So I think first you have to decide, do you need a mentor or do you need a social media manager? A mentor, and I can only speak for myself and what I offer in my services. Everybody's a little different. And there's also mentor versus coach and a whole philosophy behind that. But this is just my personal idea, okay? My personal thoughts. A mentor is somebody who's going to help you do these things yourself. So if you want to learn how to do your own social media, for me, like that's what I do. I do a 3-month mentorship program. We meet every other week. I give homework in between and we work on things together. So like one of my clients right now is working on building out her first course. And so we're mapping it out together. I'm giving her instructions for filming the videos. I am helping give feedback once she has filmed the videos. I'm giving her resources and advice, and we're helping with the funnels and like all of that stuff, right? And it's like fairly hands-on in that I do work with you on the call, but I'm not like writing your emails for you. I know you didn't ask about funnels. We're getting like a little bit deeper, but anyway, I'm not writing her social media posts for her, but I am giving my feedback on them and giving her general direction and doing a little bit of co-working on the calls. A social media manager would be actually doing those things for you. So I think that's the first step, is deciding which one you actually need or want. Obviously, a mentor is generally going to be a little bit more expensive upfront. Sometimes, not always, but generally, you might pay a bigger upfront cost, but you're going to save money over time. If you pay for my 3-month program and then you're off to the races and you have these skills that now you can use to run your own business moving forward, you're not going to have to pay a social media manager every single month. So figure out which one you actually need or want. And then, it depends. Like if you want to hire a freelance social media manager, I think hiring on Upwork is really easy. I've hired a lot of freelance talent on platforms like that. What's nice is you don't really have to worry so much about like, the legal like W-9s and like all that stuff. Upwork kind of takes care of a lot of that. And you have access to a platform of freelancers. I feel like this is sounding like an ad, but it's not. It's just you have access to a wide pool of freelancers who can basically bid on your job. But also like look around, at your networks, ask around. Some of my best hires have been referrals, and some of my best clients have come from referrals as well. So ask around because that can be really helpful. Also, just depending on the industry you're in. Like if you are in, I don't know, corporate finance, go on LinkedIn. That's probably where corporate finance social media managers are going to be hanging out. If you are in online coaching, go on Instagram. That's where they tend to hang out. So, just use those platforms wisely. And then same thing for coaches or mentors. I would say, honestly, ask around. Like that is the best thing you could probably do. And I would say for the mentors that I've hired or worked with, I've found most of them through YouTube or podcasts, just because that tends to be where people who have like authority in a space, it tends to be a good place where you can really get to know them too. That's what I say. I always tell people like watch a bunch of my videos before asking me about mentoring, just to see if you like the way that I explain things, if you like my personality a decent amount. I mean, we don't have to be best friends, but we are going to be talking to each other for at least 6 hours, throughout a 3-month mentorship, not to mention all the emails and Voxers and stuff in between. So like, I don't want you to hate me. Like I want us to be able to laugh a little bit and have a little bit of fun on our calls too. So that's a big piece of it, is that personality connection, which I think podcasting and YouTube, gives you a good glimpse into. Hope that helps. Last question I'm going to answer today is tax tips for freelance/1099 workers, quarterly taxes, and how do you manage or track? Okay, I know I've done a video about this, so I'm going to link it because I go like super in detail on everything, like what quarterly taxes mean, all of that. It's still relevant. I don't think the tax code has changed so much over the past couple years since that video came out, but the TLDR or TLDW, I guess, is track everything. I started with just a simple spreadsheet that I made. I'll maybe screen share if you're watching on YouTube what it looks like. It's super simple. It just has all my different revenue streams each month. And it's not perfect to the cent. It really isn't. It's just a quick like at a glance for me so that I can know, did I make $100,000 so far this year or $10,000? Like again, there might be dollars missing, there might be little things missing, but it's just a good at a glance for me. And then for the true nitty-gritty of it, when I first started, I used QuickBooks Self-Employed. And that is how you can manage your own stuff. Over the years, I've tried different tools. Like there's a tool called Found, which is a debit card. So what's cool is it automatically categorizes your transactions whenever you use your debit card. So you can think about a tool like that. Nowadays, I work with a bookkeeping team and I always love to shout them out. They are like, I honestly, I think they think I'm like something's going on with me because I get emotional when I talk about evolved finance. Honestly, they have helped me so much in my business in ways that they probably don't even understand. Like all of the financial stuff was so overwhelming to me and still can be, to be honest. And it can make me feel really imposter syndrome like, because I don't come from a family of entrepreneurs or a family of wealth. And so it's all very new to me and I feel very, out of my comfort zone with it. And they are just so wonderful, so knowledgeable. They take care of my bookkeeping for me. So they just do my books every month and I don't have to think about it. And then I also signed on for their tax service this past year. Amazing. They saved me like a ton of money just by doing that. So, anyway, they do have some limitations on who they work with. Like, they primarily work with people who are online business owners, in particular, a lot of digital products type online business owners. And I believe their minimum revenue has to be $100,000 per year. But if you fit into that, make sure to check them out, evolvedfinance.com. Tell them that I sent you if you wouldn't mind. And if not, they actually have some amazing resources too. I'll try to find, I think they have a free audio course. I'll try to find that. And I also am planning on having my bookkeeper on the podcast one of these days. So stay tuned for that. Be sure to, this is a great transition to remind you to subscribe to the podcast and the YouTube channel so you can know when that episode comes out. And I'll also be sure to send like a call for questions for him before that episode comes out. But I think it'll be like later this summer or fall. Hopefully they'll be on. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this little Q&A. If you have any other questions that you'd like me to answer in future episodes, be sure to leave them down in the comments on YouTube. And I hope you all have an amazing rest of your Friday, amazing weekend. I appreciate the time that we spend together, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.